episode. All right, welcome everyone to Runes reading. I am Jordy, as you know. I have decided to, at the beginning and end of each class, we're going to bring it all in. We're going to ground ourselves. We're going to get into a protection and protected space, if you will. And I noticed the last few classes I have slacked on that. And I think a lot of you have gone away from the class, still open, still receiving a whole lot. And I think closing it out at the end and opening it up in the beginning, I think that's what we're going to do from now on. so you guys don't have to be like, what is happening after class? If any of our classes at the language arts, at the Lost Arts are at the language arts at the Lost Arts are too late or too early, if you can't make it for whatever reason, always remember that these are recorded and put onto YouTube, so that you can watch them later on your own time. There are some particular classes that we recommend you being a part of, just based off of certain things that, if I see something, or if you tell me something and I'm like, oh, that would be we're going to go over that in the next class, that in that aspect, I would absolutely love it if you came, but those are specific moments that obviously I would address to you guys at that time. so anyways, getting back to tonight's class. Welcome to the language of the gods, the Elder Futhark runes. I hope you guys are as excited as my guides have been today. It's been a lot, but let's get into it. So, let me hide these. So, what are runes? Runes are a sacred mystery. They are the building blocks of the universe. They're the magical vibration of life and death. And there are 24 runes in Elder Futhark, and these are placed into 3 different. It auto-corrected. They're Aettirs, and that means families that create a story about the gods. So, types of runic alphabets in history. These are just a few. Runes have been, since the beginning of time, symbolisms. A lot of history shows that the people would use these types of tools, if you will, before the engraving of the stones and bones and antlers, and before they did, and wood, before they did all of that, there were tribes that would use sticks and throw the sticks down, and whatever symbolism came out of them, that's how they would read them. But these ones, so Elder Futhark is at least 160 to 700 CE. That's where we first see the runes that we know of today as runes, that's when they get brought up. And this is the difficult part about runes. They have there is no factual proof that the runes as a whole were the elder Futhark and the younger Futhark. So Futhark is actually, if you read the first few runes in the Futhark alphabet, they say Futhark, and that's where that stems from. That is what we have based our knowledge and knowing on, is from the oldest rock, big huge boulder that they found, that had Futhark, that had the runes on it. That is what we have based our history of the runes on. So to say that what we know of the runes being only 24 characters, or only some 26, some 16, for what we know, there could have been, an unknown amount of other runes. We just haven't found any others yet. So there was the elder Futhark, and then the younger Futhark came in 700 to 1200 CE. And then it was the Anglo-Saxons Futhorc, and that's 5th century to 1000 CE. And then the medieval Futhorc, and that's 13th century CE. We also see, so one of the most prominent, well-known figures was a poet and a writer in Rome who discussed the runes and the northern people using them and sharing them with the Romans. So they were very prominent in early Roman society. So Elder Futhark runes. The name Futhark, oh, here we go, is derived from the first 6 letters of the more well-known Scandinavian variants. While Futhorc refers to the Anglo-Saxon versions, the Elder Futhark arranged into 3 groups of 8 called Aettir, and that is what I was what I had put on the last slide. It includes 24, or they include 24 runes. Each et links to a specific deity or concept, often influencing the meanings of the runes within its group. Oh, no, not that. There we go. Structure and meaning of the runes in the Elder Futhark. The 24 runes of the Elder. Oh, yes?
I'm so sorry. Is there any way you could go back, because you went a little too fast? I didn't get to finish my notes.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yep.
That's okay.
Do you want me to go back here?
Yeah, just right there. That was all.
Absolutely. Yes. And I will say, I created a Microsoft Word document, but I only created it for Fehu and Uruz. So this part, this is the part where you should be taking notes, and I should be slowing the hell down. And while you guys are looking at this, do you guys have any questions so far as the origins and what we've covered? Let me see. We're all
So
good.
the name Fugart, it is the first three letters of this alphabet.
The first six here. So can you see my
Six.
arrow?
Yeah.
So the first six, that that translates to Futhark.
Okay.
Yep, and that is what was transcribed on the giant rock, the giant boulder that they found, and that is where the Futhark origins came from. And then once they dated all of these runes that they were finding all over everywhere, they realized that there was the elder, which goes back way before the Viking era, Gothic, Germanic, Northern Germany. They used the elder Futhark, and then they saw that the Viking era, the Vikings used the younger Futhark, and the younger Futhark is a much simplified version of the elder Futhark. They weren't wasting any time with engraving, long amounts of wording and symbols. They shortened it up pretty quick with that. And then, like I said, on the last page, it went to the Anglo-Saxons, and throughout history, we're talking centuries and centuries of slow transitions of the runes. And they finally were put to bed, put to sleep by Christianity. And once Christianity flooded Europe and these areas, the Christians pushed out these symbols, the languages, etc., etc.
So quick question. I'm just making
Yeah.
sure I got this right. So you said, excuse me, I'm probably gonna butcher this, the Aether?
Aether.
Aether. Okay. So it's three groups of eight, but which it means family. So three groups of eight
We're
that
gonna
create a
we're
story
we're
about the
gonna get
gods, right?
into the Aether. We're gonna get into the Aether in just a minute.
Oh, sorry. I was just making
I've
sure that's
got
what you
like
said, though.
3 or 4 slides. But what did you say? Sorry.
No, you're fine. I said three different families that create a story about the gods, right?
Um,
Or did I mix
yes
that
and
up?
no. Yes and no. So it does. So each Aether has its own god that or deity that it is categorized with, but the storyline of the runes is literally the story of everyone's life, the story of everything.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got
so
you.
it
Sorry, I thought that's
no,
what you
it's
had said in the
okay.
previous
It's
slide or something.
no, it's totally fine. And once we go into the eights and the Aethirs, that I'll show you, because there's Freya and Tyr and Heimdall. So we'll go through all those. And if you guys can't understand me, let me know. And if you need any pronunciation help, let me know, and I would be more than happy to stop, and we can, like with these words, like Futhark, I can help you guys pronounce them as well. Aether is Aether. So, are we good there?
Jordy, will you be sharing these slides?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, all
Awesome.
these.
That takes the note-taking pressure off.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So structure and meaning of the runes in the Elder Futhark. The 24 runes of the Elder Futhark are divided into 3 groups, as we said. Each Aettir contains 8 runes, and each of the runes within the Aettir is believed to be connected in some way, either through their meanings or through their connections to Norse mythology. So this is a representation of what these runes translate to in the English alphabet. These are the letters that they translate to. But you would not say you wanted to write fun. You would not take these runes and make, Fehu Uruz. you wouldn't do that with these. But I just wanted to give you an example of what they sound like, as well as what they look like, next to the English alphabet.
What 2 letters in English is it missing?
Oh, it's got quite a few. Since
there's-
it's
There's 26 letters in the English alphabet. there's
yes,
2 that's not there in the Futhark.
and it looks like C, and I've never even thought of that, looking to see which ones are missing. Q? I don't see Q either. C and Q. I'll look at that, and
I think you're right.
yeah, because it looks like,
I have a question.
yes,
Wouldn't this be based on the Nordic, on Scandinavian language as opposed to English? Is this based on Scandinavian? Whether it's Danish or Norwegian or Swedish?
right. So that's the hard part about the runes, is they're throughout history in all areas, so many areas. Italy, you have Italy, Greece, parts of India. There are so many areas that used their own types of runic symbols and languages. So with that, the Elder Futhark does focus on the Scandinavian, but as far as, again, Christianity coming in and basically eliminating all of that history and everything that was before, we have had to just try and pick up the pieces and keep the knowledge going, from ancestor to in the family, I guess, so to speak. So yes, it is rooted in Scandinavian Norse, Danish Norse. The Danes were a huge part of it, but it's difficult to translate and figure out, because of all of the different versions that each family has passed down from person to person, as well as the complete elimination of this language of the runes, of the symbols, for a very long period of time. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and yeah, it does. I was thinking about the Vikings because the Vikings went everywhere.
Yeah.
And so they were out and about in Greenland and United States and whatever, where we
Yes.
are today. So
They're
I'm
everywhere.
not surprised if it, whether it comes from that heritage or not, that it is found everywhere. I'm not surprised.
Yes. Yep.
But I was just wondering because of a couple of the letters look like
mhm.
Norwegian to me. So that's why I
Yep.
was just saying.
And this definitely, I mean, you can see with the I and the N and the P, this definitely, you're right. This definitely looks more of, I would say a different language. Obviously, I mean, we don't do any of those characters on our alphabet. So that definitely, and honestly, I didn't even notice that until just now. And when I was putting it on the slide, I'm like, oh, that's good. That'll show them the alphabet, the English alphabet. But it looks like you're right. I think it is from a different language's alphabet or different countries. All right. So
Thank
are
you.
we good? Oh,
There's one letter that's beside the J. It has an I with 2 dots, and that's not an English alphabet letter.
yes, that's what I was just saying. I'm like the I, and I wasn't, I had to rub my screen because I wasn't sure if it was just a mark or not, but you're right. It's definitely not the English alphabet now that I look at it. You're right. I'm gonna have to go back and look at my sources and see where I got this from. I'll let you guys know. All right, are we good here? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So here are the runic Aettirs. Each Aettir connects to a specific god or goddess or deity. Some believe the Aettir and the runes within them represent the cycles of the natural world, while others see them as reflecting the deeper mysteries of the cosmos. Ultimately, the meaning and significance of the Aettir and the runes of the Elder Futhark are open to interpretation and personal exploration. That being in addition to what I have said, as far as we really don't know. We don't know what they were, doing and thinking and using them for. I know what my family uses and has used them for in everyday life, but when going back and getting these specific slides with the history and providing this information, I realized how different they all are compared to like what I learned and what the generic meanings and history or what we think happened. Everything is so much different. So with that being said, I also am teaching this class based off of my family's knowledge that they have passed down to me, and as well as the general knowledge of the runes and their properties. So these are the three. And the first one is Freyrs or Freyas. I always knew it as Freyas. And we've got Fehu, Uruz, Toresas, Ansus, Raido, Kenaz, Gibo, and Munjo. And then Hagals, which I always knew as Heimdalls, and that is Hagalas, Naudis, Isa, Jera, Iwas, Pertro, Elas, Sowila. And then there's the tiers at Tiwas, Berkana, Iwas, Manas, Lagus, Inguas, Dagas, Othala. and we will get into those. So here's
You
Freya's.
say that so well.
Oh, thank you. I honestly, people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, do you speak Norse?" And I'm like, with the runes. My grandma did, my great grandma did, but my mom did not, and I only know the runes. And some words. Like there's some words that my grandma used to say, and but anyways. So this et is associated with material abundance, fertility, as well as the natural world. The runes in this et are believed to represent the forces of creation and the cycle of life. This text is really small, so I apologize, but I did want to add it because I thought it was really it was good. It was a good reference to the story that I was talking about earlier. So we'll start the story with Freya. Freya's et contains the most archaic symbols linked to the life of the first breeders and cultivators. The first three runes, Fehu, Uruz, and Thurisaz, concern the themes of survival. The second three, Ansus, Raido, and Canas, are characterized by search for the meaning of existence through the intellect and experience. The last two, Gibo and Munjo, are aimed at realization in the world and happiness. So that is where the story begins. You have Fehu, who is symbolized as you've got the wealth of life, you've got everything that you need to succeed, and then you go into the motions, into the movement with Uruz, and the Thurisaz is the theme of survival and pushing through barriers. And then we've got the Anzus and Raido, who you are going through these barriers and questioning your beliefs, what it is that should be pushing you. Like, why am I being pushed to continue? What is the meaning of all of this? What is the reasoning for all of this? And Kanaz as well. And then you've got Gibo and Wunjo, who are aimed at that realization of, okay, so this is why I had to go through what I went through. This is where my destination, is. And with Freya's, it's more of a here on earth story of our lives, and then we get into the more divine story. So Hagals Hamdal's et. This et embodies transformation, change, and the passage of time. The belief is that the runes in this et symbolize the forces of destruction and renewal. So Heimdall's et refers to the great trials of life here on earth, necessary to forge character and to get in touch with the profound meaning of existence, the relationship with death, Hagalas, with the pain of loss, now this, with emptiness, Isa, with the ability to be reborn from one's ashes, Jera, to descend into the depths of the unconscious, Iwas, to penetrate through the central mysteries of love, Perth, to contact the spiritual dimension, Algis, and finally being able to face in the fullness of choice, Soelu, the last phase of the path, Tirs et, which is the last phase of life. So the next one, Tir, is more focused on the beliefs and what's next and the death and rebirth and all of that. This is more in the middle of Freya's, the beginning, the starting of, okay, I'm trying to figure this all out. I always imagine or think about Freya's as like from birth to your 20s, like late 20s. And then Hagal's is like or I'd say mid 20s, and then your mid 20s to like your 40s, 50s. And then your 50s on is Tir, that where you have the knowledge, you have the beliefs, you have, you know, you have you have everything that you need. You just now need to break it down and figure out, you know, what's next. So this one has, as I said, it's got the Hagalas, Naudis, Isa, Jera, Iwas, Perth, Algis, and Sowilo. So this is Tirs et. This et symbolizes social order, justice, and the structure of society. People believe that the runes in this et symbolize the forces of order and stability. The runes that are a part of the last et, that of Tir, represent the concrete realization of the knowledge acquired in the previous et Tir, and the overcoming of individual positions to access the transpersonal dimension of the family, society, and human community. Therefore, the management of power in tune with cosmic laws. Tir, love, intimacy, and balance in the couple relationship, Berkana. Collaboration with other human beings, Ibas, Evas, universal brotherhood, Manus, and the responsibility of belong to civil society, Lagus, to contribute to the future of the planet through children, family, community, and society, Ingus. To purify oneself, the planet, and humanity from the negative influences of one's genetic inheritance and past lives, Otila, and to come to the understanding of God through enlightenment and fulfillment of the spirit, Dagas. So that is the ending of the story.
Beautiful.
I love it. I love it. So this is Fehu. This is where we come to our first rune that we will work on. Fehu is my most favorite rune. I find that throughout my life, I have always drawn Fehu regularly, if not just about every time. And with it being Freya's rune, so to speak, and I put all of the properties of Fehu in the Microsoft Word document that I'm going to put in the files on our in our group. But Freya is known to be the Fehu rune. It's her symbolism, basically, which makes total sense because I have always had a very strong relationship, so to speak, respect for Freya, and she's beautiful. She's amazing. Cattle, it means cattle or wealth. It is associated with prosperity, abundance, and the natural cycles of life. So with that being said, when looking at the runes, when learning about the runes, you have to put yourself back into those times. Cattle back then was the difference between survival or not. That was their wealth at the time. And so when you think of Fehu, think of it as more of wealth in any aspect, but also remember that our ancestors considered Fehu as their cattle, which was their wealth. I think that is really important because I feel the new age rune readings and usage it's important to translate and transition all of these to today's society's definitions, but I also feel there is a deep connection with the symbolism, with the runes themselves, if you translate them with the old definitions and the new. That way you can associate what they went through, what these runes meant to them, as well as what they mean to you now. So
I had a question, Jordy.
Oh, yes.
Just in the idea that Freya is a goddess, and she also has these 8 runes that honor her.
Yes. So the Etts are a family of runes that they honor different, but each rune honors a different god or deity. So in particular, Fehu is associated with Freya. And the other runes will, like the next few classes, we'll get into the other runes and who, who they are associated with and all of that as well. Does that answer your question?
Sure does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Oh, I just saw, Michelle, your comment. Sorry. Yes, I will be sharing these slides. All right, amazing. Okay. And now we have Uruz. And Uruz is one of my other favorites. I love Uruz. To me, it symbolizes movement, perseverance, pushing through the obstacles in life, getting past them in order to see the grass on the other side. Uruz is wild ox or auroch, which the aurochs, they are now extinct, unfortunately, but they were the cattle that back in the day that they used. So with that being said, it's associated with primal power, physical strength, and the forces of nature, perseverance and movement as the aurochs holds. With Fehu and Uruz, you see the beginning of that story, as I was telling you, which is a really, really good way to memorize the runes as a whole, because you can go back and go through the storyline. So we have Fehu, which is the wealth, and you're just full of life and nothing has affected you thus far. and you're thriving. And then you've got Uruz, which is the movement, the beginning of the movement of the forces of nature, pushing you into a different phase of your life, of a situation, of, whatever have you. And when reading the runes, that is, every time I receive Uruz, it tells me you either, well, we'll get into that, but one or the other, you either need to get to stepping, you need to get to moving on that path, or you need to slow down. If it's reversed, you need to slow down. You need to calm down. You're going too fast and it's too much. So, I think that was it. That was it for the slides. So now I'm going to go into the reading of the runes, and I'm going to put let's see, where'd it go? I'm going to put Fehu back up because I want you guys to write down this symbol, the Fehu symbol. And I want to make sure, here, I'll show you. So on this page, you can see that, here, can you guys see my arrow? This is Fehu. And you see over here, Ansus.
It's not on the screen.
We
Oh.
just got a gallery here.
Yay. Awesome. Perfect. I actually planned on that. That was my plan. I didn't want you guys to see this part.
I was going by memory, so we're good.
Girl, get it. Proud of you, man. Yes. Okay. So can you see my arrow? Oh, I can't see you guys. I'm not seeing you
Yes,
guys.
ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
My kids stole my mouse, so I'm having to keep going to my keyboard.
Oh,
so
that's wonderful. I couldn't find my mouse earlier either. So you see Fehu here, and then we've got Ansus here. So I want you to make sure. Yes. I want 1 second. Sorry. I'm getting my order in for dinner. I want one of those. They have the Philly cheese, the Philly dips, a French dip. Is that what it's called? Oh, yes. That sounds amazing. No, you're fine. Don't ever apologize for asking what food I want. Not never, you know that. All right, so Fehu is upward, and it's got this little stem up here, and Ansus is downward. So that is one thing that I wanted to reference, because sometimes people just starting out think when they pull Ansus, for example, they think immediately like, oh, it's the reverse Fehu, description or whatever. And so I don't want you to think that if you ever pull an Ansus and or a Fehu, they're both completely different but very similar. So now let me move this
Jody,
guy. Yes.
sorry. When you're drawing them, does it matter the order in which you draw the lines? For example, if you're drawing like a Reiki symbol, it very much matters what lines you draw first, as opposed to just ending up with something that looks like that.
Yeah. So that's a really good question. That's another thing, difference in the new, pagan Wiccan routines, and I guess rules, so to speak, with runes. In today's divination uses, some people have rules based off of, like how you exactly what you just said, which line you draw first, or which line you engrave first, or what type of ritual you need to do before engraving or creating your own runes, or what color pigment and blah 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 blah. My way is very primitive. It's very old ways, which old ways, again, if you think back to those times, they didn't give a shit which line came first. They were etching these with one stone or a bone into wood, and that taking all of that time and all of that energy. The focus was more on the energy being put into the rune as you are making it, and that's what I focus on, is the energy that I am putting into the runes when making them, when engraving them. And even if you buy them already engraved, the old ways, the rituals that they would do would be, they would sing the runes' names while engraving, while writing the runes. They would create poems with the rune, like Fehu. They would write them on very, very, very important things. Talisman, huh? You can't find what? Girl, it's under sandwiches, goober. The prime dipper. The prime dipper. Give me some prime rib dipper. Sorry, guys. Yes.
That's the 25th rune, right? The Prime Dipper.
No, that one's the 23rd.
Oh, okay. I
That's
just want to put that in my notes.
That's at the end of the story when I have a heart attack.
I'm sorry. That's the rune of creation, the Prime Dipper.
That's the death story. God. So what I was saying is they actually would, and there is proof of this. The ancients, the ancestors, they would use, for pigment, they would use their blood. They would use natural ground up rocks and stones. They would use herbs and plants for the pigments. I personally have used in rituals, I've pricked my finger and used my blood, but that is something that is just a family ritual, so to speak, and it's not something that you have to do whatsoever. It doesn't, you putting your intentions, your vibrations, your energy, and completely absorbing the rune and the part of the story it has for your life. while engraving each and every one of them, or focusing on each and every one of them if you purchase them. Taking them with you throughout, every day. When I have taught others about the runes, and when I've taught them the meanings, I have you pick a rune, one in the morning, and look up the meaning if you have to. Ask me if you want to, and take that meaning for what it is, the generic general meaning, but keep the rune with you throughout the day. And every time you feel it in your pocket, or you feel it, or you see it on your dashboard, or think back and think of the meaning behind it, but also what it feels like to you. Something you can remember it by. Like, as I was saying, with Fehu, I always think of Freya, but you could think of wealth. Cattle, I usually associate with Uruz. So the Uruz, I always think of, as you can see, the Uruz, the symbol itself, all of these symbols look like certain things that they are associated with. So the Uruz, that upside down U, it is it signifies the aurochs, horns, antlers, horns. And then we have so with the pigments, if you want to use acrylic paint, you can use acrylic paint. If you want to use like watercolor, if you want to use ink, whatever it may be, that works just as well, as as my blood. Jody, yes.
So if we've bought them, like we have a set of runes, and we have like they're already engraved. So what you're saying is that we should put intentions into each one of them, into like, so, right, like I have, it's already engraved, right? It's already got the little marking on it. So I should, maybe put my own, I could prick my thumb and put my own blood into the engraving that's already there with my own intention, or paint or something that means something to me in each one of the little symbols on the runes themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But if you don't want, if you feel like they are beautiful, okay, so here's an example. I have my lapis runes, and they have the gold paint on them, and I do not want to ruin these. I don't want to ruin the runes. I absolutely love the gold paint. I absolutely love the look and texture of the lapis with the gold. And so I did not do that type of ritual with those. Now,
Did you make those, Jordy?
I did not make these. These are actually, I have had these the longest. I've had for, no, not the longest. I have some wood ones that were my grandma's, but these I have had for, I want to say, since I was, like junior high, I think middle school, I got these. No, I did not make these, but I am making these. I haven't painted them yet. I haven't done any. but I have my amethyst big chunks, the big boys. I've got my bergana, all of those guys going. And and I just made some labradorite ones too. And you can see this is the labradorite. That's the Fehu that I made. But anyways, so with that being said, you can paint over the, if you bought them, you can paint over top of it. You can, prick your finger and do a little blood on one, or whatever. I personally do not consider that a form of blood magic, because you aren't invoking or requesting anyone to come in, any assistance. You are simply putting yourself as one with your runes, and combining your guys' stories, so to speak. So well, there was, let me look on here. So as far as the Fehu rune, as we said, it means wealth and further expansion and strengthening. And then obviously, so with runes, they are somewhat similar to tarot, but there are massive differences as well. Obviously, with tarot, the reversed meanings, a lot of the time it's a completely different message, so to speak. You've got the right side up, that means this, and then you've got the upside down or reversed, that could mean something completely different. It could be completely different of what the origin is, or what the question is. With runes, they are, how do I word this? The runes base what they give to you off of the decisions that you can make. There's the blank one that some people use, some people don't. I do not, but the blank one is known as the fate rune, which basically, if you pull the blank rune, you need to leave it up to fate. You need to leave whatever you're asking up to fate. But I don't use that one just because it wasn't ever, I wasn't raised with that.
I thought they forgot to carve something on it, and I'm like, oh.
They're like,
this one doesn't have anything
for
on
you
it.
to do.
What a pretty crystal.
Yeah, exactly. And I have all of mine as my pretty little crystals.
I kind of knew that there was something behind it, but I didn't know that it was fate.
Yep. So basically, the blank one is the fate. It's the, I don't have an answer for you. You just need to leave that one up to fate and see what happens. It's like, oh, okay. Damn. But with the others, there is, it just is what it is, what it is. So, I guess. God, I should have written something down to explain this better. So with tarot, with fortune, uses of like fortune telling, so to speak, or future, looking into the future. With tarot, you can use the cards and kind of see like foreshadowing or foresee like what is yet to come. With the runes, it's more of, here's where you are, and if you do this, this is where you're headed. If you do this, this is where you're headed. But you have to make those choices. This is your life, and this is your free will, and this is what is. This is where you are right now, is basically what I see them as. They do give, foresight and options and what could be, but they aren't going to tell you, that the love of your life is right around the corner in that plain as day at way, I guess. If
So it's
that
more
does that make
general.
sense? What's that?
It's more general.
Exactly. And it's more general, but it also is more, it's more
Frequency based?
specific in, you have your choices. This is what, this is what you are going to decide. The runes are not going to make decisions for you. But with that being said, the runes absolutely can help you in life, can aid you in life based off of the deities and the gods behind each one. So when looking at it in that aspect and honoring a specific god, or showing, oh, Carrie, yes, sorry.
No, I just like I wrote down like they kind of mean, so tell me if this is right. Um, Here's where you are. These are the paths you can take, and this is what the paths might bring, but the choice is yours of what to do, like where to go.
Yes, but yes, but a lot of the time I a lot of the times when I do a rune pull, it is not so much this is what might happen. It's more of here's this path. This is what you could do on this path, and you may very well get to this point. Here is this path. If you choose this path, it reminds me of, those, oh God, those old books that you could choose, and it was like, skip to page 53 if you choose this path. But at the end of the day, at the end of the book, you're in the same spot as far as the ending goes. You've got different paths, but they all will kind of go into the same ending, so to speak. Does that make sense? Either way, whatever you choose, it's one of those that with runes and with their magic and divination, it and I wrote this down because I'm really, really good at forgetting what I wanted to say until afterwards. Let me find it. I know I wrote this down. Oh, hold on just a sec, Andrea. Okay. I wrote down a lot of stuff, you guys. I'm so sorry. Have fun reading all this. I tried to shorten it up. I apologize. Andrea, what did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a couple of quick questions.
Yes.
Freya is with Fehu for the goddess. What god or goddess is with Uruz?
So the oh, ooh, wait. Sorry. So Uruz is Ymir, and are you ready for this one? Jord. So Jord is Jord, and that is what my mom named me after.
So the
So-
Uruz is Jord?
Jord.
Okay. That's neat, eh?
And so with Fehu, I wanted to talk about its properties. So the element for Fehu is fire. The deity is Frigg, Freya, and Freyr. And the symbol, of course, is herd of cattle or livestock, which meant wealth. The interpretation is, again, prosperity, wealth, abundance, success, security, fertility. And the stones, this is my favorite part. The stone is the fire garnet and the moss agate, since it relates to Frigg and Freya. The tree is the elder tree. The flower is lily, and the medicinal herb, as you guys all know, I use a lot of it, is nettle. The color is fire red. And a lot of these are associated with red, because that was originally what the Old Norse would engrave them with, was red or blood, or pigments. And the scent is myrrh, and the tarot is the tower or the magician. And then astrology, Carrie, are you proud of me for looking this one up? Because I am. I was like, what's the astrology of Fehu? Sun in Aries, moon in 7th house, Mercury, Aries. It just says airy. I think I didn't write it all the way.
Could you
And then
put the correspondences in the next slides for
What's that?
us? The correspondences that you're going over with Fehu? If you can put them in the next set of slides
Oh,
for us?
Yes, this is all the my on the Microsoft Word doc that I was saying I was going to put in the file section in the group. But
That makes sense.
and I will say I made slides with all of this information on them, and this was part of the downsizing the slides situation, because I think I had like 27 slides. So I cropped all of the information and pasted it all in here so that you guys weren't overwhelmed and we weren't here until 12 o'clock at night or in the morning. But so with Uruz, the element is earth. Ymir and Jord is deities. Symbol is the auroch, but it's also symbolized as rain, which I wanted to make sure and put in here. And the interpretation, strength, power, stubbornness, courage, untamed potential, freedom from the obstacles. The stone is amber and garnet, and the tree is birch and oak, and the flower is pasque flower, pasque, but also anemones. Medicinal herb is marsh moss and nasturtium. The animal is the auroch, cattle. Color is red, orange, or dark green. It has also been seen in the dark green as well. Scent is saffron or thyme. Tarot is the high priestess. Astrology is sun in Taurus, moon in 8th house, moon Taurus. So yeah. So that is the information on those two runes that I had put together. So
I had one other question, Jordy,
Oh,
if that's
yes.
okay.
Of course.
When you're doing a reading and you have a bag of runes, you pull out the runes, but how many do you pull out to do a reading?
Yep. So that is what we are going to go over in the next class.
I'm always
wanted
ahead
to-
of you.
Huh?
That's so funny.
What? Sorry, what'd you say?
I'm just saying is that I'm always seems to be ahead of you. Like
Oh, yeah.
I come with
Yeah.
ideas ahead of what you're going to say.
No, honestly, like you finish my sentences, and it's funny because in the psychic abilities class, if you remember, that was one of the things that I said was showed that you were intuitive, is you tend to finish people's sentences, or you already know what's about to come up. But
Not to
so
be rude or anything.
you're fine. You're not rude, girl. You're fine. I appreciate those questions because it's something that, so like I said, I have the next two classes figured out as far as slides go, and I'm going to, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to do binding runes next, or if I wanted to do the layouts and how to do the pulls and how to do the spreads and how to do that. And I think I'm going to do the pulls and the spreads because that is reading the runes, whereas the binding and the writing and engraving and creating written form we'll do as the third class. But
I have to laugh at that because that's exactly what I was hoping you would say.
well, because you already knew that's what I was going to say. You got it, Andrea. You're killing it. So and also with that being said, I'm going to every class I'm going to just do 2, sometimes 3 runes at the end for you to take with you for that week or week and a half. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to do these classes every week. So you take the Fehu, take the Uruz. If you don't have runes, you don't need runes. You don't need them. You can create, you can write. As Tanya, I told her to put Uruz on her wrist, her left wrist. The left is the future, the right is the past. So you can put an Uruz on your wrist.
It's very effective.
It is. It that especially because you are putting it on your body, and it is the energy of the rune is literally within you. We all have all of them within us. It's just trying to find them is the hard part. So
I kept pulling
do-
the Fehu.
huh?
And I kept pulling the Fehu when we were talking.
Yes, I love it. So that tells me that and I know a couple of you, Tanya, it might have been you, a couple of you guys had reached out and said, like, is there a certain deity, is there a certain god or goddess I should be working with? And I said, you know, whoever comes to you, whatever you feel is the god or goddess or deity or what have you to work with, then that's who it is. But the fact that Fehu, Frigg, Freya, Freyr, they obviously wanted to work with you and wanted to make their presence known. Somebody, okay, Jody had a question.
Yeah, sorry, my dogs were like bugging me to go pee and now they won't go outside, so because it's raining, so
you're
God
fine.
forbid. So
You're
I
fine.
missed a couple things that you said. I was trying to hear you through barking, but did you say that you were going to because of teach us about pulling the runes and like how to pull them? Like, are you just
Mhm.
reaching in and grabbing one out, or
Yep.
you know, to carry with you? Because, you know, maybe that's something I might want to do. I'm having an interesting week. There's some funky stuff going on over here. So
Well, guess
I
what?
was kind of, what's that?
I said, well, guess what?
What?
Urus will create the movement and the pushing you forward out of whatever situation you're going through.
Okay.
Fehu will create the wealth in family, strength in the family unit, whether it be your at work or at home or at school, or that will bring forth the wealth in your relationships.
Okay.
So I think those two are perfect for you know,
And I
situation.
have a question. What you just said
Yes.
about your right hand being your past and your left being your future. So I've always been told that, like, your left was like what you were receiving, and your right was what you were putting out. So is that
And that's something that with every form of whatever, whether it be Christianity or paganism or Wiccan, or everybody has their own
okay.
ways, so to speak. I always was taught left is the few. So, okay, here's another example. When reading the runes, if you do a 3 rune pull, you would read it as the left being the future, the middle being the present, and the right being the past. So that's how I also read this, like the 3 rune pull. But if the right feels like future to you and the left feels like the past to you, then absolutely do that. There are no
it was
rules.
just like I wear crystals all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like all the time. I don't ever leave my house without crystals. I have crystals in my pockets. I have
Hey.
bracelets.
Hey,
I
have you
have
met
like,
me?
you know, right? Like everywhere. They're just everywhere. And so like I have a dish actually that sits by my door. And
Mhm.
I have my stuff in my room and I'll go, oh no, I want that one today. And then I have a dish that sits by my door and I will always reach and grab a couple that just
Mhm.
feel right to me. And
Mhm.
so like I always thought that, you know, if you were trying to, so say you took a, you know, a rose quartz and you're trying to be more loving today, because I'm really trying to be more loving this week because I'm not feeling it.
Mhm.
Right. So I'm wearing rose quartz like and you know on my wrist, and you know, because I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to put out. So if is that, you know, so that's why I kind of questioned if that kind of coincided with the same thing as if I were to, because I do put runes, like I'll use henna, right? And I'll put
Mhm.
runes
Yeah. So
or sigils, you know, on my wrist.
yes.
So
When looking at it, once again, I want you to remember that the way that I know, the way that I have been taught, and the way that I am going to teach you guys is how it was for our ancestors, for my ancestors. They did not give 2 shits about rose quartz. They probably had no idea what it even was. They were in pure survival mode, and they probably didn't give 2 shits about if it was left hand or right hand or any hands. So when saying it like that, I guess what I'm
I
getting
swear to
at
God,
is
young lady, you better not be in that
the
garbage.
way that I am going to teach all of this is there are no rules other than what feels right to you. What you think will work best for you, for the deities that you're working with, whatever your intuition and your gut feels, that's what you need to do. That is how I have always worked with runes. So when I say like left with the future and right with the past, those are things that have worked for me as a personal preference. That is absolutely not set in stone, and it absolutely could not pertain to you. You might have a different way, and that's the runes, right? That's a different path. And that's
Is that
okay.
the way, is that the
It's
way
the
that
same.
that it was taught way back though, Jordy? That it was what did you say, left was future and right was past?
So that's again, we go back to the difficult part about runes is everything is a theory. We don't know the origins. We don't know how hey, Lula, Lula, I'm sorry. No, she's straight up jumped at my cat. We don't know the origins and how they used them. We do know that the Vikings did use them for divination-like practices, magical practices, but as far as that kind of thing, as far as like left with, that is all teachings that my grandma taught me, which her mom had taught her, and her mom had taught her, and her mom had taught her, and her mom had taught her. So that's something that has been passed down throughout my family. And so that is my ancestral Norse pagan way of doing it.
Well, and I think too, if you think about it, right? Like how Jody was saying, left to draw in and right to put out. Well, you have to draw in the energy that you want to create your future with. So if your left is to drawing in, you have to draw that in. You have to draw in the future, right? And what we're putting out the past. That's the path you're doing, and talking about like drawing in energies and putting out energies is kind of also too a whole different from reading ruins. I think like
100%. Yeah.
you have to you can't, what crystals you hold and reading runes are completely different subjects. But if you want to try to make that come together, you're drawing in your future and you're putting out your past, and that might be a good way to correlate the two. But I think you have to realize also as well that they're completely different, they're birds of a different color, they're totally different things. So come into the
Carrie?
runes with fresh eyes, I think, is a good way to do it, to not muddy the waters.
Yeah.
Carrie, you were reading my mind, and also to Heather's, because that's exactly what I was going to say, that the taking in for the future is that you're taking it in, that's what you want, whereas the past and the right and giving is to put it behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of just what feels right to you in the aspect of using runes for divination work, as a lot of us in today's society really only use them for. I use runes in everyday life, all over my life. And it's kind of crazy because, and we'll get into this in one of the next classes, but a lot of architecture that you drive past every single day, a lot of signage, a lot of there are runes everywhere, literally everywhere, and you don't realize it. And the people that own the company that has it on their signage a lot of the time don't even realize that they have an actual binded rune on their signage, and that it is a symbol and not just a bunch of cool little lines
Like
that we
Bluetooth.
saw. Huh?
Like Bluetooth.
Exactly. Berkana. Yes.
But I think some companies, though, they know exactly what they're doing, and that's and they don't want you to know what they're doing.
Yes, that too. But yeah, and architecture in houses. I see these things a lot, especially in older houses. They actually built them just like that on purpose, because Christianity was coming in and forcing them to silence their beliefs and the runes. And so what a lot of them did was they put binded runes into their architecture of their homes. And that was their way of still honoring and respecting their gods and their beliefs, while not being caught. So it's really cool. I absolutely, I just, runes are so much more than just little etchings in stones. And I really, really hope that I give them the justice and, you know, I give you guys the knowledge. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
You've
Danny?
done a great job. Oops. You've done a great job. And it's wonderful that you have the connections to carry with it, and that it's not something academic, or that you're coming from your life and from your blood print and from your frequency, and you're bringing that with it. So it's greatly appreciated.
Thank
Your
you.
history.
Thank you. I thank you. I have a really hard time with putting into words a lot of this. And so I had to extract some of these pictures and you know, some of these, the wording from online sources, and it was just like, it was so frustrating to me because I'm like, it's hard to explain something that just is for you, you know, that's just kind of second nature. So I do appreciate that. And so with that being said, I'm going to end this recording. It's now 7:40. All right, let's get stop share. And where's the record? Help me. Stop video.
Straight at the bottom, in the middle
That's
of
fair.
the line. I
Stop
look for
video.
it every time as well.
God, why is this so difficult?
Just hit stop
Hey.
video.